ஷேர் மார்க்கெட்ல ட்ரேட் பண்ண பெஸ்ட் சாய்ஸ் Zebu. Zebu அக்கௌண்ட் ஆரம்பிங்க. சிங்கிள் அக்கௌண்ட்ல ஸ்டாக்ஸ், கமோடிட்டி, கரன்சி, மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்ட் எல்லாமே ட்ரேட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Zebu ரிலையபிள் ஆல்வேஸ்.
பூவிக்கு பொருந்தனாலே பொனங்கனே மகனாலே கலக்கலர மரவாத்தியேத்துவே கரக்குல விகசயாமவத்துவே. தமிழ் மக்களுக்கும் Little John fankum வணக்கம். She was one of the nicest actresses I'd worked with. You know, I tried to look her up once. I don't know how I would get in touch with her, but if she happens to see this, I'm so happy for her that her career has exploded. It really makes me happy. I'll tell you the hardest part of it. If I was able to just concentrate on the dancing, it would have been much easier. But I had to sing in a foreign language while doing it. So my mind is split between the words I'm not familiar with and the moves I'm not familiar with. Obviously, I get shrunk down to very tiny.
7 inches, I guess.
Much of that was done in a studio. The scene where I'm climbing up the stairs, they had built humongous blocks of green. I was not very familiar with how these effects were going to look or how they were doing it, but the final product, it looked great. I've often thought how fun it would be to come back and do a Little John 2.0. Maybe a Big John, something like that, you know, Little John again, 20 years later. Maybe one of the producers out there will get the idea to do Big John. I'll have to give you a commission for presenting the idea.
Yeah! Woo!
Hello, Mr. Bentley. Vanakkam.
Vanakkam.
Happy to be interacting with you in this interview. It's almost 20 years since Little John got released. Yeah, I was a kid back then. I didn't know your name. All I knew was that you were this exciting little John. Not just for me, but for all the fans of Little John. They fondly remember you that way.
Well, I was very blessed to be chosen to play the part of Little John, and the experience was amazing. And I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me through my Instagram, telling me how much that movie was a part of their childhood. And I'm really touched that it affected so many people, and so many people like that movie.
How did the film come your way?
Well, at the time I was living in Los Angeles, and my agent contacted me and told me that there was a film being made in India, asked if I was interested in it. I expressed my interest, and so if I remember correctly, I put myself on videotape. Back then we didn't have the digital technology with the phones to make films of ourselves. And we sent it to India, and we got contacted back saying that they wanted to use me to play the part of Little John.
That was your audition?
Yes.
That little tape? Yeah.
Yes.
You shot the film in 3 different languages, Little John. Tamil, Hindi and English.
Yes.
I understand English naturally comes to you. It's your mother tongue. But what about Hindi and Tamil? It must have been a challenging job for you to pull off the dialogues.
What I did was I would find the scenes that we were going to shoot the next day, and then I would find somebody who spoke Tamil and somebody who spoke Hindi, and I would record the dialogue, and then I would write it out phonetically, and I would try to learn it phonetically as best I could in both languages. And so when I arrived on the set, I was pretty familiar with how it should sound, and it was a experience I've never gone through before in my life. It was very interesting. We would film the scene, let's say in English, and then we would reset the scene, and they would bring in the family that spoke for the Tamil version, and we would redo this entire scene in Tamil, and then once they got that, they would reset and bring in the family that spoke the Hindi, and we would do the entire scene again. So once we were set up, we were actually filming 3 different versions of the same scene with different actors. It was interesting. It was very interesting. Some of the actors
Yeah.
did not change, like Anupam Kher.
Yeah.
But Jyothika's family, they had a Hindi family and a Tamil family. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the family that spoke Hindi was also the English family.
Parvala, Swamiji. Parvala.
And not just the dialogues, but also you had to dance for a Tamil kuttu song.
That was
பூவுக்கு பிறந்த நாள். Yeah.
That was actually a surprise to me. I had never seen an Indian film when I came to India, and I did not know I was going to have to be doing. I think it ended up being 5 songs in the movie and doing the Indian folk dancing. Singitam Rao is telling me, "Okay, I want you to sit here, and you're playing the guitar for her, and you're doing this." And I'm saying, I don't understand what's happening. Where does this happen in the movie? And then they realized I had never seen an Indian film where suddenly you'll just cut away to a dance and song number. And so that evening they took me to see one of Jyothika's films in the theater.
Okay.
And I understood. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand why we're doing that. And they explained to me that the Indian audience is somewhat demanding. And if they're going to go see a movie, they want to see everything: singing, dancing, laughing, crying, entertainment.
Everything.
Yes, so I got it. Then the choreographer would come over to where I was staying, and every day I would be taught the choreography of the songs. And the dancing part, I'm not the greatest dancer, but I did my best.
You did it so well. I was about to say your dance, your Tamil kuttu dance was on point, because it's really tough for a foreigner to catch up the dance moves, especially when it's a Tamil kuttu song. But you did your part really well.
I'll tell you the hardest part of it. If I was able to just concentrate on the dancing, it would have been much easier. But I had to sing in a foreign language while doing it. So my mind is split between the words I'm not familiar with and the moves I'm not familiar with. And that was a bit of a challenge, but I like being challenged, and I gave it my best, and I tried my best. I remember one of the days there, and I don't know if you're Celsius or Fahrenheit, I don't remember, but it was about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and trying to do those dances and singing in that heat became a challenge as well.
Can you sing that song?
I don't know if I can remember the words, but I will try. I remember that. Something like that. I have not sung it for 20 years, and it's another language, so I can't believe I was able to pull that much out.
Yeah, you actually were able to do that really well. That really surprises me. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the film involved a lot of VFX, special effects, which was way ahead of time for a Tamil film. So what was the process like? Did you find it intriguing?
Yeah, obviously I get shrunk down to, very tiny.
7 inches, I guess.
Yeah. And much of that was done in a studio with humongous setups of green screen. For example, the scene where I'm climbing up the stairs at Jyothika's house, they had built humongous blocks of green that I would actually have to climb up. And I was not very familiar with how these effects were going to look or how they were doing it, but they knew what they were doing. And the final product, it looks great. One of the interesting effects that they did was, at one point I step onto Jyothika's hand, and she moves me to a table. And if you notice, I actually rotate during the shot. And so what they did is they built a rotating circle, and everything was green. And I had to step onto the circle, and then they rotated the circle matching the speed of Jyothika's hand, which they had already shot, so that it would look like I was rotating in her hand. And then sometimes they would have a green screen and put actual props in it. Like when I was sitting at the table and Jyothika's making me breakfast.
Yeah, the little dosas that she serves you.
Yeah,
That is one of my
dosa.
favorite sequences.
They had actually built a humongous table and a humongous chair, and they put that in the green screen. So I was able to sit at a giant table in this giant chair.
Thank you, Vani.
My
Oh, really?
So yeah, so it was a combination of just effects and sometimes using real built props like a giant table into the scene. And for example, another one, when Swamiji, I go to see him and he's trying to show me his magic, and I leave, and then the ceiling gets all cloudy and starts to rain. They had combined a green screen, but they also had a whole sprinkler system set up. So when it was put together, the green screen shows all the clouds coming in, but that was real water falling.
What can you recall your experience working with Miss Jyothika?
She was one of the nicest actresses I'd worked with. She was very respectful. I don't know how she's grown in the past 20 years, but back then she was very reserved, extremely nice, extremely understanding that I was from another culture with another language, very giving as an actress. And we had a lot of laughs. I remember I made her laugh many times.
Saktima.
And she was just wonderful. You know, her mom was on set the entire time. And usually when we would stop filming the scene, she would go and sit with her mom. But there were times when we had to stay there for the camera to line up, and we would talk and have our banter. And she was just a really pleasant person to know and to work with.
Did you get to talk to her after the film?
After the film, nowadays we have WhatsApp, texting, and things like this, where it's much easier to communicate with people on the other side of the world. Back then, it was not as simple. And unfortunately, I did lose touch with her. I haven't spoken with her in quite some time.
And in these 20 years, Miss Jyothika has grown into a much bigger star.
Oh,
So,
good for her. That's great to
yeah.
hear.
So, would you use this medium to communicate a message?
I tried to look her up once. I don't know how I would get in touch with her, but if she happens to see this, I'm so happy for her that her career has exploded, as you say, and she's found that success. And I've only ever wished her happiness and love and joy in her life and a successful career. And to hear that that's what seems to be happening in her life, it's really makes me happy. If she ever wants to reach out, my Instagram is Mitchum on top, and if she wants to go through a friend or something, I'd be happy to hear from her. But I don't know how to get in touch with her. So if she hears this, bless you, Jyothika. I'm glad that you have the success that's happening in your life. It only makes me happy.
Now
So, the legendary director, Singiram Srinivasa Rao, he is known for his sense of humor. Did it reflect in his conversations with you?
Well, there was a bit of a language barrier between us, but I thoroughly enjoyed working with him, and I could tell that he had a sense of humor. And sometimes when we were able to communicate, that sense of humor came through, and we did have a few laughs together. But I'm very impressed with the job he did on the film. I was not familiar with much of his work beforehand. As you know, I had not seen any Indian films. But when I arrived in India, I was informed that he was a very well-respected director, and I was very excited to work with him. And I would do it again without question. It was a very pleasant experience working with him. And yeah, his sense of humor did come through sometimes.
Hello?
People, your fans from here, they would love to know what you're up to these days. What are you up to these days?
Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, everything that was in the works has been put on pause. Before that, I was working on a film with a director friend of mine in Los Angeles. The director is a man named Robert Ball, who's a very creative guy, and it's a different kind of film. It's almost a modern Wizard of Oz type fantasy film. Since COVID has come into play, that's been put on pause. All of Los Angeles is pretty much shut down. So I have been doing a lot of music. That's pretty much what I've been up to these days. If people want to know what's going on with my life, I do have an Instagram. I do not do Facebook, and they can go to Mitchum on top and follow, and I'll keep them updated. I usually try to interact with as many people that give me messages. That's something else I'm doing today that keeps me busy. And that's pretty much it. Just the music these days. And I've often thought how fun it would be to come back and do a Little John 2.0, maybe a Big John, something like that. Little John again, 20 years later.
People would love to see that.
I would love to do it. Again, that's not really up to me because I'm not a producer, and I'm definitely not a producer in India.
And you were talking about Little John 2.0.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be really great because people here, they still go back and watch the film. It's still on Amazon, Little John.
I also heard from some people in India through my Instagram that they've shown it on the television somewhat recently as well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's fantastic.
But would you be willing to do that if you get an opportunity?
I would be there in a heartbeat. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I had a great time when I was there. I'd always wanted to travel to India, and the opportunity never arose. When I was offered the job to do Little John, I was very excited to do it just to go to India. I'm getting a lot of, like I said, a lot of fans are starting to contact me. I'm starting to get a lot of people asking me, are you going to come back to India? Are you going to do another film? My experience in India, I mean, with any experience, there's ups and downs, and there's good times and bad times. But all in all, when I look back on it, it was such a unique and incredible and amazing experience that the idea of returning and actually doing another Little John or something along those lines, I think would be fantastic, especially to come back after 20 years and see the changes that the country's gone through, and see how well my memory lines up with reality. And I tell them, I said I would love to, but I'm not the one who makes the film happen. If somebody wants to make a film happen, I would love to come back. And maybe there will be some interest. I don't know.
Swamiji.
So let's see if any producer watches this interview and an idea strikes up, and in a heartbeat you'll be here in India.
Well,
doing Little John 2.0.
I'll have to give you a commission for presenting the idea.
Yeah. Woo!
So what would you like to tell all the fans of Little John, because they were kids back then
20 years
Yes.
back.
and they are now trying to reach you. Some of them have reached you already through Instagram. So what would you like to tell them?
First thing I would like to say is I am so touched, blessed that I'm finding out that I was a happy part of your childhood and was a fond memory of their childhood. Touches me deeply in my heart. So I want that to be known, that I'm very grateful to all my fans of that movie, and grateful that I was part of that project. Secondly, if anyone does want to reach out to me, again, that Mitchum on top Instagram is probably the best way to send me a message. If a lot of people contact me, I can't promise I'll get back to all of them right away, but I do spend time daily going through messages and trying to write back to as many people that do contact me, because I know as an actor and a musician that without people that are fans, I have no career. And so I try to give back by communicating with my fans. and letting them know that they're appreciated and I don't take it for granted.
God bless you.
So can you talk a few words in Tamil so that they'll feel happy?
I don't remember much. I remember Vanakkam, Nandri Namba.
Vanakkam, Nandri Nanba.
Yeah.
நன்றி நண்பா. இங்க இருக்க.
I can teach you a few words.
Oh no, you're gonna
A
embarrass
message.
me.
No, not at all. That's a single line maybe.
I will try my best with what you're saying,
Yes.
but if I say a dirty word by mistake, it's not my fault. It's very funny because I remember I was doing the song in the studio, the you know that song. I was in there and I was recording it, and the producers would stop and they'd come into the room and they were all laughing. And I said, "What's the matter?" And they said, "You're saying one of the words wrong." And I said, "Well, what's the word?" And they would say it, and I'd repeat it back to them, and they'd all laugh. Eventually, I said, "What is the difference with what I'm saying?" And he said, "Well, what we want you to the word we want you to say means basically the young village girl. The word that you're saying is a very naughty word." So I was singing this happy song, calling her a very bad word, and it kept making them laugh, and that's why they wanted me to get it right. The Tamil language has very subtle differences in words that my ear had trouble picking up, and that is a funny story of that. But I will try my best with what you're saying.
Ella
Ella
Tamil மக்களுக்கும்
Tamil மக்களுக்கும்
Little John fansக்கும்
Little John fankum
ரொம்ப நன்றி.
Rumba Nandri.
Yeah.
Ella Tamil மக்களுக்கும் Little John fankum Rumba Nandri.
Perfect.
That's very nice. That's a nice thing to say. Thank you.
You've done an unforgettable, memorable film.
And I am honored and blessed to be part of it. And the fact that it affected so many children with a positive memory, if that's all I've done on this planet, then I did my job.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Bentley, our dearest Little John. Thank you for making our childhood so special.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you asking me to be on. I want everybody to stay safe, try to be as sanitary as possible. This will pass one way or another, and then we will get back to living life and take care of your mental health, because it's a hard time we're going through. So that's definitely one of the things I want to say. As far as me, maybe one of the producers out there will get the idea to do Big John 2.0 or Little John 2.0, and I would be more than graced to come back to India. And thank you all. Thank you all for your support and your encouragement, and for reaching out to me, and for enjoying that film, because it was an amazing time in my life, and I'm glad that it came through in the film and brought you joy and entertainment.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்கள். இதே மாதிரி நிறைய வீடியோஸ் பண்ண தான் போகிறோம். உங்கள் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் ஃபேமிலிக்கு மறக்காமல் ஷேர் பண்ணுங்கள். என்ன தோணுதோ கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்கள். 52 லட்சம் பேர் எங்கள் ஃபேமிலிக்கு சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஸோ நீங்களும் மறக்காமல் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்கள். ஷேர் மார்க்கெட்டில் ட்ரேட் பண்ண பெஸ்ட் சாய்ஸ் Zebu. Zebu அக்கௌண்ட் ஆரம்பிங்க. சிங்கிள் அக்கௌண்ட்டில் ஸ்டாக்ஸ், கமோடிட்டி, கரன்சி, மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்ட் எல்லாமே ட்ரேட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். Zebu, ரிலையபிள் ஆல்வேஸ்.